Good afternoon, everybody. Today we are going to do a somewhat simple video. It'll be just a quick walk around for some of the vehicles and the shop. So to start, you guys are very familiar with this. This is the M2. That is my car. It was going to be a daily driver, but then I decided I didn't actually want to daily it. So it is a 2017 M2 executive package, 6-speed, and it's blue, and I really like it. It's cool and neat, and it's an M2. And right outside, we have the daily driver, which is a 1993 BMW 525 iT, or Touring. It is the Hoon Wagoon, and when I bought it, it was $350, and now it is my daily driver. It's actually a really fun car to drive. Like, I really enjoy it. I manual swapped it, and yeah, now I drive this every day. It just obviously had some cooling issues, but I got that taken care of, and now it runs and drives very well again. So that one's really cool too. I really like that car. I'm slowly rebuilding it to put all of the original features back. So I'm working on the air conditioning. I got the windows to work again. I have to fix the seat twist on the passenger side seat, but that's not a big deal. But basically, I've just been doing all these small things to get the car back into, I don't want to say perfect shape, but good enough shape that I wouldn't mind daily driving it throughout the entire year. Over here, of course, we have the shop, and there's the car hauler, which I got from a good friend, Alan. It's nothing special, it's just a car hauler. So this is the 4Runner. It is a 2000 Toyota 4Runner Limited. It used to have the V6, but now it has a 1UZ V8. I did an engine swap on that when I broke the V6. Yeah, it's completely custom. Basically, it's obviously a custom engine mount and everything, but it's still got the part-time four-wheel drive system, and it does not really have much of an interior right now because I'm still working on that. And it leaks no, it doesn't. It leaks transmission fluid, which is fine. I'll take care of that. And it is always covered in mud everywhere, since it's the off-road and tow vehicle. It is also lifted, and it drives not so well, but that's all right. Yeah, I'll show you the engine. Yep, there it is. There is really no space to do anything in here, especially the fans and the cooling, so it uses pusher fans. But that is all custom, and it is actually really fun to drive and has pretty decent steering for what it is, which I find to be hilarious. And then we are at the front of the shop. That is my roommate's Jeep, and I'll give you a quick tour. And so here we are inside the shop. It's pretty full right now, as actually it has been for quite a while. So I'll give you a brief rundown. Obviously, we have the garage door here, and we have the pit in front. So over here, this is where we do a whole bunch of cool oil changes and swaps, and anything that could require a lift or a pit. We don't have a lift, but the pit sure is nice, and it's pretty wide. It was there when we got the place. And then Ben built this little structure, which is really cool because we can stand on it, basically walk across the pit, and then put tools on it as need be. Over here, we have Cyrus's E39 530. Currently, it is getting the sunroof worked on. There was a failure on the sunroof rail internally in here, which you probably can't see, but basically that is almost done, so that's really neat. He had to take down the part of the headliner and take out the sunroof glass. It was just a whole big mess. And then naturally over here we have a mess of parts and tools and a bench and music, which is awesome. Next to the E39, we have the second engine. This is the good engine for Thomas's FRS, which is right over here. So, of course, this one has no oil. As I noted, there's no oil, add oil. Do not start, no oil, and no oil. So there's no oil in that engine, but that should be going back in this weekend. So it'll be cool to have that up and running. And then, of course, we have this engine. This one is the broken one. Seems like it spun a rod. Nope, it spun a bearing. So we are going to take it apart and investigate and see what happened. Over in this corner, we have a little thing that I put together. It's basically just a Ford Taurus fan and the battery out of the FRS. And basically we just put that in the door and it sucks in cooler air because it gets mighty hot in here. Over here, we have my other roommate Kieran's E30. This is his project. He's going to build it into a race car. It's pretty neat in that it is a 318i, so it is the 4-cylinder, kind of like Alan's, but it is a little bit older. But basically, it's been a project for a while. But Kieran is putting all new suspension bits on, or has already put new suspension bits on, put a new diff into it. He put a limited slip in there, and then he is going to be doing, he did some bushings and everything. So now he's just waiting on buying wheels, and it should be running and driving and ready for autocross, track, everything. But it is a part of the BMWs with the better opening hoods that open forward. So that's pretty neat. And here is his build project list, the Dirty 30, and he has to do a driver mod as the main, the largest written main mod that he's going to do, which is neat. This is Ben's project bike. It is a 1970s Honda CB that he is completely customizing, so it'll have like brand new suspension off a Kawasaki Ninja. It'll have a bored and stroked engine. I think stroked as well, maybe just bored. I don't remember. But anyway, he's working on that. So once he gets some time, he'll be working on that. But with all the other projects going on, there's always something to do. We have welding equipment over here, which is really nice. So we can do all kinds of fabrication and bolt extraction as needed. We have the Harbor Freight shop press, the 20-ton press, and then this really neat thing that shows where all of the bell housing bolts on Thomas's FRS go. So we have that in order. That's really nice. Really good way to keep things organized. And then we have the parts shelf for the FRS. So we have some new coolant, some strut bars, and intakes and accessories and everything that we could possibly need. This is a compressor, an AC compressor that came with the new engine, but luckily he doesn't need that, so I think he is going to sell that or something of the nature. This area is, once the bikes pass, this area is the front of the building. So basically the pit is all the way over there, and this is mainly just part storage in here. So we'll go through a little bit of that. This is a gas tank out of the E34 sedan that I bought. The one in the wagon leaks a little bit, so I'm actually going to swap those soon. Now that the other gas tank strap failed, I'll take care of that. This is a $45 or $50 push mower that Ben and I got, and it doesn't so much cut the grass, it more just kind of beats it into submission, and then the grass is magically shorter, so that's awesome. I have the rear wheels off of the wagon. There were these two. When I bought the wagon, it actually had two different size wheels on it. Similar design. So this was an original rear. And then these two were ones that I had off of a previous BMW. So I put them on, they fit, they had better tires. Over here we have the wheels and tires off of the M2. These are the original wheels with the Pilot Sport 4S's. Unfortunately, I've kind of destroyed these by tracking them and kind of cupped on the outside edge, but that's okay. We'll deal with that later. I'm not too worried about that. This is the original rear subframe out of the E34 wagon. It has the self-leveling suspension, a 410 limited slip diff, and then all of the other accoutrements that go with a rear subframe. We have the original automatic transmission out of the E34, the wagon, the Waghoon. It actually used to be an automatic. I didn't like that, and I got bored with it, so I put in a manual. That brings us to sort of this area. This is the engine storage and tire storage area. This is a 4-liter straight 6 from a Jeep Cherokee. It is one of my friend's original Cherokee engines. It has low compression on actually none of the cylinders. It just has a misfire that doesn't quite make sense. So we haven't been able to figure out why it misfired. So we swapped the engine, and here is the original one. It's covered in mud because it's a Jeep that does actual Jeep things. So that's really cool, actually. We have original axles from a Jeep that Ben had. And then we have, of course, a multitude of tires and wheels. I think these are off of Ben's car. I think those are off of Cyrus's car. These are off of Cyrus's car. I don't actually know where those are from. I'll look in a second. And then these are extra ones that I have for the 4Runner. They are 17-inch Tundra wheels. I thought I was going to go to 17s to run 35s, but as it turns out, I might just stick with the 33s on the 4Runner wheels. But we'll see. Right behind me over here, this is the M50 for Alan. So in a previous video that was called Alan's M50, that is this engine. We are about to swap that into Alan's E36 318. So similar to Kieran's, but a little bit newer. So that will be nice and fun. Over here we have the donor M50 that came from the E34 sedan. So the transmission from this car went into the wagon as well as the rear subframe. But it's a BMW straight 6. It's been sitting here for a while, and I've been taking parts off as needed. So we have things like the head gasket, the timing chain tensioner, the timing chain guides, the cam gears, and the Vanos gear, and stuff like that. We have a spare Getrag 250G, which actually has a blown second gear. That came out of the sedan as well. And then over here is a transfer case for the 4Runner. This is a regular J-shift for a 3rd gen 4Runner. That is going to go in soon, but I have to get this little spud shaft off first, which shouldn't be too bad. Now this thing, this is really cool. This is a 1952 MGTD. It is my dad's, and I am going to be restoring it for him. So we will be able to have a bit of a build series on that, which is cool. It's got a 1.3 liter 4-cylinder. It is an original, fully original British Leyland engine and car. It's pretty slow. I think it has a top speed of something like 75 miles per hour on a good day downhill with the engine off on the back of a tow truck. But it is all there, and it's not rusty, and it is honestly very cool. So I'm going to be restoring that for my dad. I'll bring the bodywork to my paint guy, and then I'll work on the mechanicals myself. It does need new shocks all the way around. But it's cool. It's right-hand drive. I think it was originally destined for Hong Kong. It's a 4-speed, non-synchronized transmission, and it is a very beautiful Great Gatsby car. But actually, it came from the 50s and the 60s, and the Gatsby era was really in the 20s. So that's when you saw a lot of the beautifully designed American cars. Britain was a little bit late, but that's fairly standard for Britain, I suppose. That's it's really the lower level of the shop. There is some stuff upstairs which I can show you, but not too much actually. We just have, you know, Ben's workbench and tools over here, some wood for the wood burning fireplace. And then upstairs is actually really, really hot. Obviously heat rises. There's no lighting in here, but oh, we'll get there. We have parts from the E34 sedan. So a front bumper, rear shocks, light surrounds, and a grille, which is pretty neat. We have some parts from the 4Runner. So that's the original lower bumper valence. And then in the back where you can't see is a Lexus resonator for the air cleaner. And more E34 parts here, and a transmission cooler for the 4Runner off of a 100 series Land Cruiser, which is neat. And then in here we have the interior from Kieran's E30, parts off of Ben's project bike, and more tires. Those Pilot Super Sports? Anyway, more tires. And of course we have the beautiful outside, which actually, the area is pretty cool out here. It's a nice area, and I really don't mind living here. It's my specific house isn't specifically beautiful, but that's okay because the area as a whole is not bad. It's nice to live alongside the river, although there are tons of bugs. But you win some, you lose some. That's fine. Let's see, what else is there? You have tires and just a whole bunch of stuff. At one point, we had 35 gallons of used oil, but luckily Ben has been really good about starting to take some of that away. So we are reducing those numbers, which is good. Now, eventually, I will give a closer walk around for each of the vehicles that I own. So things like the 4Runner, the M2, and the wagon. And probably the MG will get a build series, but we'll get into that later on.